Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're jumping straight into, well, a really classic debate. Village life versus city life.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how where you live shapes just about everything.
Absolutely. We've got some great perspectives here, looking at the nitty-gritty differences, the daily stuff.
Yeah, from the moment you wake up right through to, well, everything. Routines, people, jobs, food.
Our goal is really to unpack these contrasts. What do you gain? What do you maybe lose? And just understand the vibe of each lifestyle.
And it's clear from the get-go, location isn't just background noise. It really dictates so much.
We'll touch on morning sounds, what kids experience growing up, how you connect with people or don't.
And careers, what you eat, healthcare access, education, even feeling safe. It's a big picture.
It really is. We're drawing on some really vivid descriptions, scenarios that make you think.
Yeah, they paint a clear picture, making you consider the trade-offs involved in choosing where to put down roots.
So if you've ever wondered, am I in the right place? Or you're just curious about these different worlds existing side by side.
Then yeah, stick around. There might be some aha moments coming up as we dig into these core differences.
Okay, let's start at the beginning of the day. Morning routines. Big difference there, right?
Oh, huge. The source material really highlights this contrast between like natural versus artificial starts to the day.
So in the village, it's described as waking up to what? Roosters? Cows?
Exactly. The sounds of nature, animals stirring,
Yeah.
and the smell, of earth, maybe dew. It's very sensory.
And breakfast is often like super fresh, things from right there.
Yeah, fresh milk, eggs, maybe straight from the coop. There's this direct link to where your food's coming from.
That sounds incredibly peaceful, actually.
It often fosters this deeper understanding of, say, sustainability, too. Less reliance on the big chain supply.
Which is almost the polar opposite of the city morning described. That sounds more like sirens, traffic.
Pretty much. Sirens, cars honking, maybe your neighbor's early morning blender, the garbage truck. It's a manufactured soundscape.
And breakfast becomes more functional. Quick bite, coffee to go.
Definitely. A granola bar, maybe hitting Starbucks on the commute. It's all about efficiency, schedules.
It really sets a different tone for the entire day, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That slower, natural village start might mean less immediate stress, whereas the city, well, it often starts with a rush.
That urgency hits you right away. It makes you think about the long-term effect of just how you start each day.
The cumulative impact.
So moving on from mornings, how about childhood? How do these places shape kids' experiences?
Well, the comparison points to a big difference in structure. Village kids often seem to have more unstructured playtime.
Like climbing trees, exploring outside, maybe fishing.
Exactly. Lots of outdoor freedom, self-directed stuff, maybe helping with chores too as part of the rhythm.
And there's that community aspect, right? Everyone kind of knows the kids.
Yeah, it's sort of informal oversight. People look out for each other's kids. It's a built-in thing.
Which is interesting. Does that sometimes mean maybe less privacy for families or everyone knowing your business?
That's a potential downside, for sure. That close-knit nature has pros and cons.
Compared to the city where childhood seems much more scheduled.
Very much so. Soccer practice, piano lessons, tutoring, structured activities are key.
And screen time probably plays a bigger role. Playdates need scheduling.
Seems that way. Less spontaneous neighborhood play, more organized interactions.
So you wonder about the skills developed, don't you? Village kids maybe get more practical, hands-on learning. City kids more structured, academic prep.
It raises questions about creativity, problem solving, resilience, how they develop differently in each setting. So it's not necessarily better or worse, just different paths.
Definitely food for thought. Okay, let's talk about social connections and privacy, another big contrast area.
Oh, absolutely. The village is painted as, very tight-knit. Anonymity is basically non-existent.
Everyone knows everyone, and maybe everyone's business too.
That's off of the reality. It means incredible support during big life events like weddings or funerals. The whole community rallies.
But the flip side is less personal privacy day to day.
Precisely. You're deeply connected, which is supportive, but also maybe constantly visible.
Right. Whereas the city offers that anonymity almost as a default.
Yes, you can blend in, have a lot of privacy, which many people really value.
But the source also mentions the potential downside there. Loneliness.
Yeah.
Social isolation.
That's the risk. You might have wider social circles, perhaps, but maybe not the same depth of connection or that immediate, reliable support network you find in a village.
It's that trade-off again, isn't it? Deep belonging versus personal freedom.
Exactly. The village bonds can be amazing, but maybe a bit restrictive sometimes. City freedom is great, but can you always count on someone being there? It's complex.
Finding that support system looks different. Okay, let's shift gears to something that often drives people's choices. Jobs and money. Career opportunities.
Yeah, the city is often seen as the place to be for that. Much more diversity in the job market, right? Tech, finance, arts, you name it.
Loads of options, but the comparison also mentions intense competition.
Oh, definitely. High competition, often pressure to network constantly, stay visible professionally.
And now there's remote work throwing a curveball into the mix.
Right. The potential to access city jobs without actually living in the city. That's changing things.
That dream combo, good job, quiet life. But for the village, traditionally, options are more limited.
Generally, yes. Often centered around farming, local trades, small family businesses. Less competition for those specific roles, maybe?
And no commute, often.
Huge plus. But if you have very specialized career goals, it can be challenging. The work is often more physical, tangible, which has its own satisfactions, of course.
Yeah, but if you want to be, say, a quantum physicist, probably tricky in a small village.
Probably. Though, that lack of commute is a massive win for time and stress levels. And yeah, remote work is blurring lines, but you still need decent internet.
Yeah.
Which isn't always a given rurally.
Ugh, the broadband struggle. True. Okay, let's talk food and lifestyle. This feels really fundamental.
It really does. The village picture is one of a very direct connection to food.
Like you grow it yourself or your neighbor does.
Often, yeah. Locally sourced, maybe bartering happens, you know exactly where it came from. The comparison really stresses the taste of truly fresh food.
That just picked flavor, I can imagine. Maybe leads to healthier eating habits too.
Quite possibly. That connection to the source, understanding the seasons, it's a different relationship with food.
Compare that to the city. Convenience reigns supreme, right?
Yeah.
Delivery apps anytime, 247 supermarkets.
Total convenience. But maybe less certainty about quality. Where did this actually come from?
Yeah.
And potentially higher cost for groceries.
The mystery meat scenario, maybe? It's ease versus that direct connection.
And thinking bigger, that fresh local diet plus maybe a more active outdoor village life could have real health upsides.
While the city offers convenience, maybe more processed options, potentially higher stress, different health picture.
Exactly. Which leads us right into healthcare and well-being.
Right. The city's big advantage here seems clear. Access.
Definitely. Top hospitals, specialists for everything, pharmacies on every corner. Access is usually excellent.
But the comparison also flags the stress factor in cities. Burnout, anxiety.
Yeah, high stress levels seem almost part and parcel of urban living for many. And it notes that therapy is more normalized in cities.
Which could mean there's more need for it, or just more acceptance of seeking help.
Probably a bit of both. In the village, the pluses seem to be cleaner air, maybe a slower pace.
Less daily grind stress, perhaps, and maybe more reliance on home remedies, traditional knowledge.
Possibly. But the big potential issue is access to urgent or specialized medical care. If there's an emergency, getting help quickly might be harder.
And attitudes towards mental health might be different too, less openness.
That can be the case. So again, trade-offs. Great city infrastructure versus potentially healthier village environment, but with access challenges.
Okay, education. How does learning look different?
Well, cities often boast access to, advanced facilities, specialized programs, robotics clubs, exchange opportunities, that kind of thing.
More resources, more variety. Emphasis on formal academics, getting into good colleges.
Generally, yes. Preparing for that competitive track.
Whereas the village approach described fosters. Maybe more practical skills. Resourcefulness.
It seems like it. Less focus on high-tech resources, perhaps, but a really deep hands-on knowledge of the local environment, practical problem solving.
Learning from the world around you directly.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about the different kinds of intelligence nurtured. City focusing on academic tech skills. Village are perhaps more on practical ability, environmental awareness, local know-how.
Neither better, just different skill sets being prioritized. What about feeling safe? Security.
Villages often score high here based on the comparison. High levels of trust, strong community feel.
People leave doors unlocked, that sort of thing.
You hear that, yeah. Neighbors look out for each other. Crime tends to be less frequent, maybe less serious when it does happen.
That inherent community watchfulness. The city, though, needs more conscious effort for security.
Yes. Anonymity means you need more formal measures. Locks, alarms. Concerns about different types and potentially more frequent crime are often higher.
Less natural surveillance from neighbors who know you.
Exactly.
But it feels like these lines are blurring now, doesn't it? You mentioned remote work.
Absolutely. That's a huge factor. And the idea of smart villages is interesting too.
Using technology to improve rural life.
Yeah, bringing better internet, maybe tech-driven infrastructure improvements, connecting rural areas digitally could bridge some gaps.
So you could potentially get more of the best of both worlds.
That seems to be the direction things could head, more hybrid living arrangements.
To make it really concrete, let's look at that typical Tuesday snapshot from the comparison. That really highlights the day-to-day differences.
It does. The Village Tuesday starts with, maybe a rooster, not an alarm,
Right.
maybe milking a cow or grabbing fresh eggs for breakfast.
Zero commute if you work locally or on a farm.
Right. Contrast that with the City Tuesday. Hitting snooze multiple times.
Fighting for shower time, maybe grabbing an overpriced, mediocre coffee on the way to a crowded train or bus.
That's the picture painted. That daily grind feeling.
And even small things, like the example of getting a free carrot from the garden versus buying a $12 juice.
Yeah, those little moments really stack up and show the different values, different access, different costs.
It's the texture of daily life that's so different.
And over time, that texture significantly shapes your quality of life, your stress levels, your overall well-being.
So if we boil it all down, what's the core trade-off here?
The comparison really frames it as kind of opportunity and maybe adrenaline in the city.
Versus community and maybe sanity in the village.
That's a good way to put it. Opportunity and energy versus community and perhaps a calmer, more grounded pace.
That captures it well. So after diving into all this, what's the main takeaway?
I think the clearest message is that there's no single right answer, no universally best place.
It's deeply personal, isn't it?
Completely. It depends on your priorities, what you value most, maybe where you are in your life. Both lifestyles have real pros and real cons.
What's crucial for one person might be totally unimportant to another.
Exactly.
Which really makes you reflect, doesn't it? Thinking about all these differences, the sounds, the pace, the connections, the opportunities. What aspects are truly non-negotiable for you in where you live?
Mm-hmm. And what are you willing to compromise on to get something else you value?
That's the million-dollar question, really.
And maybe, just maybe, the future isn't about choosing one extreme. Perhaps it's more about finding clever ways to blend the best parts of both worlds.
Integrating that city access or opportunity with village peace or community.
Yeah, maybe through remote work or through developing communities that consciously try to offer a balance. It's something to think about, for sure. How we can shape our lives in our communities moving forward.